Do you hate cryptocurrency, NFTs, blockchain, and insert other Web3 buzzword? Well, so does Drew Devault, the creator of Sourcehut. Now, Sourcehut serves a fairly similar purpose to things like GitHub, Gitlab, Gitea, and things like that. It is a web Git remote. And Sourcehut is planning to make some changes to their TOS related to cryptocurrency. Sourcehut Terms of Service updates cryptocurrency-related projects to be removed. Sourcehut is planning to roll out updates to our Terms of Service, effective in 2023, that being January 1st, 2023. The changes most likely to impact users is the prohibition of cryptocurrency or blockchain-related projects on Sourcehut. Now, it's not like he's doing this for no reason whatsoever. Crypto bad, and that's it. He actually does explain his reasoning. These domains are strongly associated with fraudulent activities and high-risk investments, which take advantage of people who are suffering from economic hardship and growing global wealth inequality. Few to no legitimate use case for this technology have been found. Instead, it is mostly used for fraudulent get-rich-quick schemes and to facilitate criminal activity, such as ransomware, illicit trade, and sanctions evasion. Now, you may argue that this isn't a bad thing depending on where you are, but that's where he stands. These projects often encourage large-scale energy waste and electronics waste. This one has been an issue, especially over the past couple of years with GPUs, which contributes to the declining health of Earth's environment. The presence of these projects on Sourcehut exposes new victims to these scams and is harmful to the reputation of Sourcehut and its community. Now, from my perspective, I've certainly been very critical of certain aspects of crypto, especially things like NFTs. But I would be lying if I said that during the COVID crash, I didn't make quite a bit of money. Not the most recent one, the one that happened like 2 or so years ago. But it's very hard to argue against this as sort of a general rule. A lot of projects out there are basically garbage. Even if they're not scams, a lot of them are just a waste of code. But on the other hand, you can make many of these same arguments, especially regarding legality and things like that, with torrenting and emulation. But we all know that these have legitimate uses, some of them, questionably legit, but should all torrent and emulation projects be banned as well? Well, if Drew was being completely consistent, sure, but that's just not the way that people work. People are not consistent. They have things that they agree with and things that they don't. Drew is fully aware that doing this is not going to stop crypto projects existing, but what he is doing is making a stance to say that I actively want to disassociate with these projects, and even if you don't agree with the stance that he is taking, I certainly can respect him for taking that stance. And as Drew does, he got into a discussion about this over on Hacker News. Now, someone brought up the issue about torrenting, and if some of this is about legality, shouldn't torrents be included as well? But he disagrees this is even related to the issue. It's subjective. For us, it's a question of social impact. Sure, torrenting copyrighted material is illegal, but what's the actual social consequence of it? Little to none. BitTorrent also has a wealth of legitimate use cases. For cryptocurrency, this is not the case. The social impact is grave, and there are few to no legitimate use cases for it. Now, while you can make use of blockchain technology without this weird get-rich-quick coin, blockchains are also included in this ban as well. We recognize that the basic idea of a blockchain, as it were, may be generally useful. However, most projects which market themselves with blockchain technology are subject to the same social ills as cryptocurrency. Consequently, we have chosen to include blockchain-related projects in this ban for the time being. But he's not 100% against the tech being used. For example, we will exercise discretion when applying this rule. If you believe that your use case for cryptocurrency or blockchain is not plagued by these social issues, you may ask for permission to host it on Sourcehut, or appeal its removal by contacting support. Also, projects which seek out cryptocurrency donations while being strongly discouraged from doing so will not be affected by this change. So if you just happen to be a random project, a terminal, a desktop environment, anything that you want to be, and you have like a Bitcoin or an Ethereum donation link, that's going to be fine. You won't be removed. It is only if you're expressly using that tech inside of the project itself. Now, I find it pretty hard to disagree with this as a general sentiment. I think the tech is really, really cool, but while there are certainly interesting use cases like a decentralized currency in a country that has a very authoritarian government, or maybe you have a currency that is completely worthless and you replace that with crypto. But a lot of the other use cases, like let's take a monkey and then procedurally generate a hat it wears and sell that for $10,000. That's dumb. I think the idea of public transactions as like the general way you spend money doesn't make any sense. Like, you don't want your government paying attention to everything you're buying, but you're willing to put every transaction you make out to the public. Like, I don't see that as like a good thing to do. When it comes to like NFT games, all of them that I've seen focus too much on the NFT and make a really bad game. And things like tokenized assets, I think are kind of neat. So tokenized assets is when you take like a house, a painting, anything like that, and then rather than letting people buy the entire thing, they buy a portion of it, like a share in a company. But for every project like that, there is at least 100 that are just gonna go to the moon, and that's their only purpose for existing. And most of them, they will have an influencer prop them up, they sell off, and it's over. And no one ever cares about it again, and it's a dead project. But as you may expect, the rule is already being tested. Seems extremely arbitrary. Would ENS get a pass? What about Ethereum itself? Both projects would not be permitted under this policy. Lol, hilarious. I guess endowment and any EVM-based project would also not be permitted then. Now I wonder what would pass this nebulous Drew review. I mean, those are clearly cryptocurrency-related projects, like that's obviously against the rule here, which fall well within the scope of this policy. The exceptions are not to let the good cryptocurrency projects in, there are no such projects, but to make sure that projects which are close to this domain get a fair shake. Like something which incidentally uses a blockchain-like data structure, GNU Taylor, and things like that. Seems like you're saying that anything primarily relying on a permissionless and distributed consensus mechanism will not get a pass. That's not what I'm saying at all. Please read the article. It's very specific on what kind of activity is not permitted. And yeah, I would agree. It seems pretty straightforward what's not allowed to happen. Cryptocurrency, blockchain. He literally listed them, and then had this paragraph explaining it in more detail. And someone who actually has one of these projects on Sourcehut asked as well, am I affected? I would appreciate knowing so I have time to move, and since you, Drew, are in this thread, this is an expedient way to find out. I'm not sure what this project is for, but on the face of it, it does not seem it would be a problem. If it develops further and starts to run afoul of these rules, we can discuss it further. And if necessary, work together to ensure a smooth transition to another hosting provider. If you'd like to clarify more about this subject, feel free to email me or just elaborate here on Hacker News. It is meant to solve the class of problems in the computer science sense that is cryptocurrency. This is because I want a name system where the definition are given meaning relative to our economic system, but where the economics within the network should converge on better incentives, which is why the approach should encompass the space of solutions so we can find the point in that space which have good trade-offs, WRT reality, our current central currency model system systematically produces pollution, and the motivation of data Lisp is to eventually replace that system with a provably better one. You can assume that for the time being, that this project is permitted on Sourcehut. Once it materializes further, and its relationship to the social problems of cryptocurrency becomes more clear, we can evaluate it properly. It seems you at least have a pretty good background on the problems with cryptocurrency, so I'm optimistic about this project. Good luck. And Hacker News is basically a slightly, very slightly less cringy Reddit. But sometimes you still get those Reddit-style comments. Why you consider even negotiating such a thing? Don't you find it degrading? And the guy who posted is like, degrading? No, like, this is just a discussion. We're having a discussion here. We're adults. We can do that. And a lot of other people in this thread aren't exactly happy about Drew making this change. Now, if it wasn't clear already, Drew isn't saying that you can't go and host your own instance of Sourcehut. If you want to go and run it yourself, do whatever you want to it. Drew is not going to stop you. The TOS changes here are all about the main instance of Sourcehut, the instance that he runs. So if your project is affected by these changes, or you do not agree with them, you have until January 1st, 2023 to migrate to another platform. You may use Hut to obtain an export of your account data using standard formats that you may import into third-party Sourcehut instance or another host which are compatible with these formats, such as Codeberg, GNU Mailman. I didn't know why GNU Mailman's on that list. If you wish, you may request to have your account deleted by contacting support. And whether you agree with these changes or not, I think it's a good thing that he's giving a roughly, I think this came out and it was about a 2-month window. Yeah, it came out October 31st. So about a 2-month window to make these changes. Because you might not see this instantly, or you might just, not feel like dealing with it. Other things are far more important. So giving that 2 months gives you enough time for pretty much any project to move to another platform, whether that's a Sourcehut instance or you move to GitLab, GitHub, or anything else out there. Now, this wasn't the only TOS change, but the other changes are by no means as major. They're changing some things related to Dutch law. Threatening and harassing others is a big deal, and you probably shouldn't do that. And if you are being, a terrible human being, you may be banned from the platform. Now, some users have been banned in the past, but there's only been 2 people banned so far. Besides, obviously, the, spam bots and, just straight up fake accounts trying to be a nuisance to the platform. Also, they've slightly revised the policy over what they can do with the code that you upload to the platform. Basically, the way they're able to display it and things like this. Because when you license code and then you give it to someone else to display, there is weird licensing oddities about what you're actually allowed to do and how you can handle that and things like that. But nothing really that important. So where do you stand on the crypto problem? Do you like crypto? Do you hate crypto? Do you like certain aspects of it? Do you only like it like the way I do, where it made you a bunch of money, but besides that, you just don't care at all? And if you're running a public Git remote, like a public GitLab instance, a public Gitty, or a public Sourcehut, or anything else out there, would you accept crypto and block-related code on your remote? I would love to know. So if you like this video, remember to go and like the video. If you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, go check out my Patreon, subscribe, Robertson, pay link in the description down below. I've got a podcast called Tech Over Tea. I've got a gaming channel called Brodie Robertson Plays. That's going to be it for me, and I'm out.